Now, can you guys think of any maladaptive behaviors through this process? I'm sure you can think of all kinds of them. There's so many that you can't even say offhand, because it's just...
I can think of when kids throw toys and everybody gets really upset. Don't throw that toy. The parent gets really angry and upset. Well, this gets the attention every time. Every time I throw it, wow, I'm the center of attention. It's a quick, easy way to get it.
Right.
And a lot of times the parents' behavior really, even though they think they're not thinking, they just react.
Yeah, we just react. And that's why we really want, even though I'm telling you all this, it's not to say that, every single scenario at home plays out this way. No, we're very reactive to the environment, but that's actually what sort of created, some of the problems that we see. My sister, who's a psychologist, says I've seen her do this repeatedly with my niece. When they've come over, she's swimming, wants to get out of my sister wants her to get out of the pool, and my niece has an absolute meltdown. That's what we call it, meltdown. And, she does this routinely. It's routinely pretty much at this point. And the thing is, she'll have this meltdown, and my sister talks to her. That's another thing. She talks to her. Sydney, honey, she sits down with her. And look, talks to her. We really got to go. Aunt Lisa, invite us, and we've been here a long time. They go through this routinely. And the thing is, at the end of the day, she lets her stay. You can stay another 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. But what happened already? If I were to ask you guys, what occurred already? Yeah, she already admitted this behavior which we don't like, right? Which is not good, And she just basically reinforced, it was very effective, we would say. It was effective. It got her what she wanted. And one of the things I want you to know about operant conditioning that we want to find out about the child that we're working with is it serves a purpose for the child. It's not like they're just sort of randomly doing it. It's usually very goal-directed and purposeful. And in Sydney's case, it's very effective. So she comes over and, has her meltdown, and if there's this interaction, I already know that, she ends up getting her way, and so needless to say, my sister's kind of deals with this ongoingly in different contexts, but it's a result of that whole dynamic. And so you need to be careful, because I think some of us, our gut tendencies might be to sit down, spend some time, discuss it with them. But how many times have you done that already? That's what you got to think about. Have I done this? Because now at this point, that's a reinforcer. And as very nurturing parents, as I think probably everybody in this room is who's a parent, some of those tendencies could actually, create conditioning when we don't want it to happen.
I have kind of it's not really funny, but when I was recovering from surgery, this woman came over with this very active child, and the child wanted mom to go. She was tired of us talking, so she goes outside the door, and she's ringing my doorbell, ring. Mom gets up every time the doorbell rings, gets up. And the child keeps ringing the doorbell, and by then I'm ready to scream at somebody. And the mom's sitting there, and finally mom's trying to ignore them, but the doorbell's ringing. So I go to the door and I said, you get in here now and sit down. No more ringing my doorbell, and I'll get you a toy. But, mom had reinforced it by getting up every time the doorbell rings.
Yeah, which made it a game, for the child. And again, we don't always see the connection. Well, how is that rewarding? What did I do? But like Judith said, sometimes just the fact you're getting attention. You think, why does this kid keep doing this behavior? He gets in trouble. He gets sent to the office. Well, I had a kid who liked going to the office because he likes the ladies in the office, and they all talk to him, how you doing? And they sit down, So who would have, what I mean? There's things that don't necessarily occur to us right away. And it doesn't matter. If it's continuing, it's being reinforced, period. Lovely, you want to say?
I was thinking another example of what you just said with the office. I worked with a kid who, like, would during playtime, he would purposely try to get into a fight or kind of like steal toys away from his sister so he could get time out. But the thing is, he liked time out because he didn't like to play with his sister.
Right.
So we were actually reinforcing that behavior without knowing.
Right. And that's good though that you recognize that, because that's the thing is we put things in place thinking that, okay, this is sort of global, but it's really not that way with human beings. There's people that sort of like to be, hey, I want to be out of the mix. They have some downtime, that it might be, sensory overload for that particular child, so they like it. But it's noticing the nuances, and you happen to pick up on it and notice, wait a minute, And that's the thing. If it's increasing, we gotta reevaluate it. Okay, particularly if it's increasing. Now, having said that, oftentimes when we employ behavior plans, we do sometimes see an increase in the bad behavior at first, and that's very typical of learning processes. And it's almost kind of a rebellion to what's been paired already and associated with, but we let parents know that they need to expect that they'll see an increase, but then it's going to taper off. Okay, and one example that comes to mind is that the parents who want their child to sleep in their own bed, maybe she's 4 years old, want her to sleep in her own bed. Well, the thing is that they'll have to go through a routine and leave her in her bed. She's going to cry a lot at first. She's going to have a fit, a meltdown, all of that, and it's going to intensify probably in the first week. It'll be very difficult for the parents not to give in. But we let them know that that's to be expected because they're employing now a different schedule of reinforcement. So, but yeah, it can be really sometimes not so noticeable, I guess is what I'm saying. It can be something that you need. It helps with, there's a body of people that can look at these different things.
Lisa?
Yes.
At some point, we're talking, for the most part, typical behavior.
Yes.
At some point, are we going to get to special needs children and their behaviors?
For the most part, when it's something when there's not an organic problem.
Okay, I'm thinking of self-stimulatory behaviors, like pica, Lovely and I met one and another one with the hand in the mouth constantly to the point where there's sores and bleeding and medicine and those kind of behaviors.
Those you can still employ behavioral strategies. The thing is that with a typical developing child, you're explaining the consequences, what would be appropriate and not appropriate. When it's a child that maybe has limitations with that, we really wouldn't do that. We just employ a very consistent behavior plan with that child. We'd have to limit what they're around. A lot of it, if it's organic damage and they're automatically reaching for things and doing things, it's very different than when it's purposeful. I still would venture to say that it might be soothing for them, and so we need to find something that could be a replacement. We've got to look at what would be replacing the behavior.
Well, I have suggested to this one family that is absolutely pulling their hair out with the child that puts things in her mouth, to the point, windowsills, and everything, taking bites out of wood, furniture, and everything, to see if regional center will help with a behaviorist. I've never had a child with pica that changed.
Right.
ever.
Yeah, and for the most part, when it's involuntary, those are the ones that aren't as applicable to operant. We're talking about voluntary, goal-directed, purposeful behavior. When it's a child that has some kind of organic disorder, and so they have these random behaviors, it's really doesn't make as much sense to apply operant conditioning.
So if the children, that their learning process may be limited for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do have many of those kids in the CRP, which is why they have helmets and they have gear on and stuff, because they'll just go and, bang their head or shove that kind of thing. So we're doing things that would at least prevent them from harm, but some of those behaviors very much are involuntary, they're physiological, responses, and that's sort of in a different realm. But typically what happens is that people may think that all of their behavior is like that, and that may not be correct. There may be some that we can actually work with and replace. And so that is why we have a psychologist that comes over there and sets up behavior plans for those children, even the most severe children, because there are some things we could still look at changing, some of the behaviors, so they can learn some positive eating habits and things like that. But it's getting a handle on which seem out of their control and which seem that they have the capacity to learn. And I think when it's those severe cases, we definitely need to make sure that the families have a professional involved, because it's really, it is a different scenario. And even kids with ADHD, there's behavior management plans that we put in place for ADHD that aren't effective because it's a processing problem there.
Well, I think this mother would, if she had a professional involved, even if they couldn't fix it, I think it would validate her, because she's hearing from everybody else, oh, she'll grow out of it.
No.
And I'm looking at her, how do you feel about that?
Right.
What do you think about that? I think, and she's had another child. She says, no, I think it's above and beyond. It's not typical. She shouldn't be biting my TV set. She should,
Right.
I mean, I'm I'm thinking that way too. So, see if you can get to a professional.
Yeah. And there's stuff that other people employ. Now, there's things they put in place, whether it's a buzzer or some, they put things in place that might be aversive to the child, that are presented at the time they're doing that. And so that might actually decrease the amount that they're doing, but that's more of it's almost like classically conditioned, because it's getting more involuntary. But it would be for someone to assess if in fact this child has this organic problem, so they're just going about, biting it. But you think, why are they doing, is there a purpose behind it? If it's pleasurable, can we replace it with something even though they do have a processing problem? Or can we pair that behavior with something that's so aversive to the child that they'll withdraw from it? So it'll counteract the physiology part of it. That's one that we need to get somebody in there to work with them and see if it's possible. But I wouldn't want to give them any false hope, like it's a phase. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think in our work, we hear that a lot from other specialists, other people, that are working with their child, from physical therapists to occupational doctors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't grow out of
I have
it.
to say that's pretty common, though, of people to say in general, oh, he'll grow out of it. The thing is, if it's not appropriate behavior, then we need to look at getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get rid of it, and what are we going to employ to get rid of it? Okay, and those are some of the most challenging cases, is when they have some kind of organic problem. But I do know that there's behavior specialists that have made some successes, just like they've made some successes with our children in CRP, learning particular skills, sitting down, putting their napkin, using a utensil. Even though they have a lot of the cognitive impairment, there's still some basic things that you
I
could
think
do.
this little girl can do basic things because she's understanding a coin goes in the piggy bank.
Yeah,
She can't physically do it because she doesn't have, the brain and hand coordination together. But she puts it towards it.
yeah,
She can't put the ring
Right.
on, but she can put it towards it.
right,
And she understands
Yeah.
where it goes,
Yes.
or the puzzle piece.
yeah.
And then if she can't get it in with help, or if she can get it in with help, she's fine. If she tries to do it, that's it,
Yeah,
loses
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
you have to give her some
yeah,
assistance.
yeah.
But
And
she
that's the
can
thing,
learn.
it's understanding what her limitations are, but what can she learn up to one point, and that's, yeah, and it's not always, something that's readily observable, that can take getting some data and information on the child, and